Mr. Beast running for president would be a bad thing. And for my reasoning to make sense, I want you guys to meet a very interesting person. The guy on the screen right now is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. He's the president of a country called Zambia, and it's located in the southern part of Africa. Now, the reason why this guy is interesting is because of the way he became president. You see, this guy had been trying to become president for the longest time. I think I was 8. I'm now turning 24 soon. And he just wasn't somebody who people liked. They weren't fond of him. And every election he lost by a landslide. But something changed in 2019. You see, he made a post on Twitter, and it was this post that would later put him in office. You see, he went on Twitter and wrote something, and then some guy, a young person, commented and called him Bali. And Bali is a word that you use to refer to cool adults, cool dads. And when he noticed that this post got a positive feedback from the young audience, it was a moment of realization for him to use social media to his advantage. So after this interaction, after this post, he made his entire social media more relatable. Because most of the time when, government people like officials make posts, it's always all like official, like too governmental and serious. But this guy was really funny, like reading his posts is like memes. He would mock the current government in a like humorous way, nothing too bad. And it was just so relatable, he would make fun of them, and everyone liked him because of this. He went from having, I don't know, 100,000 followers to, having millions just within months. This was really like a turning point. Now, why exactly is this important to the Mr. Beast storyline? Well, you see, during the time this guy was, making all these posts, there were actually real challenges in this country, like load shedding. And he would write posts like, why is there 4 hours of load shedding? When I become the president, I'll do this. And his ideas were brilliant because he has a good academic background, he has the theory. But he would later realize that having the theory is one thing, but actually putting it into practice is another thing that he was just not prepared for. Because you see, when you're a citizen, you have a certain perspective of how you think the world or the government works. But when you're the president, you are the guy who's responsible for creating the perspective that is common, or the majority of how the citizens view the country or whatever. You're responsible for creating the perspective. And so this guy, during this time, he would make these posts, mock the government, it's a failed government, this and that. And this worked to his favor. People endorsed him, people loved him, and it was a great time for him. This was one of the most iconic election campaigns ever. But 3 years into his office, he is the most hated person ever. Like, they hate him so much because why? He realized that action speaks louder than words, and doing it, what's the quote? It's like, it's easier said than done. Because when he went into office, he realized that it was not what he expected, because load shedding went from 4 hours to 20 hours, and now there's actually a schedule for network tariffs. You have 2 to 3 hours of using your mobile phone, your internet every day, and for the majority of the time, you're just in the dark. No electricity, no power, no water, no nothing. And they recently had cholera. It is just not going so great for him. And it's not that he is a bad person. That is the most interesting thing about him. He is actually someone who's genuinely trying to improve the situation. But being the president of a country is like being a programmer who's maintaining legacy code with no comments, and you just don't really have. It's like there's. I don't really know how to explain it, but if you got that analogy, you understand what I mean. And so this guy, he actually is in a much worse situation compared to where the government that he was criticizing him. he's a very nice person. He has good intentions. There was so much corruption before. He got into office. He fired everyone, brought in new people, and he just did so much. Yet they don't like him. Social media was his weapon, and now it's his kryptonite. It's the thing that if you go there, people are always criticizing him. The same people that wanted him in office, the same people that endorsed him, they stand against him now. So, what exactly went wrong, and how does this relate back to Mr. Beast? You see, I think that being president of a country is the most challenging thing ever because it's not just about doing the right thing. It's not about giving. I think we as citizens think, I'll just give this is so much easier. But then when you go into that office, that's when you actually realize that citizens perhaps only know 2% of what's actually going on. And it is this fact that I think every time we like someone before office, once they get into the office, they become the villain. I think that citizens just don't have the full picture of what actually goes on. And this is why I fear for Mr. Beast becoming president because you see, he is a very nice guy. His entire channel is all about being positive, having a positive image. He can't have any, criticism. He can't have any negative energy or atmosphere towards his brand. But when you're president, you actually have to make the hard decisions that don't always sit well with the majority of people. And when you're a president, it's not only about doing the community work or doing the things that people are expecting, like, development or what. You realize that some of these things are not even in your hands. You realize that perhaps it's actually someone running the entire show. But basically, I just think that being president is just something that people do not realize that they would actually hate Mr. Beast. That's what I honestly think because when you're a president, who was the last president that was actually liked? And maybe Obama. People might argue Obama. I don't know any other US presidents, but right now we're living in such dire times that if you're going to be the president of the country, you actually need to make hard decisions. You actually need to make tough calls that, would either, bring about the end of the world or peace or whatever. And the thing that I just realized is that I just don't think that Mr. Beast would be a YouTuber and the president of the United States at the same time. I just don't think that's possible because one, he himself said that at the core of everything, he just wants to be like he just wants to make videos. Now that doesn't mean that he might not, that doesn't disqualify him or make him any less qualified to be the president of a country. But I just think he still hasn't achieved everything when it comes to YouTube, and I still think he has a long way to go for him to actually feel like he's satisfied with what he's done on YouTube. And not only that, even if he tried to actually simultaneously be the president and be a YouTuber at the same time, I just think it wouldn't work. Without saying, I just can't say whether or not Jimmy would be a good president. That's just something I can't say. I think he is a good person. He's a likable person. He's a genuine heart. And this country that I spoke about, he recently made a video about how he built houses there. I think it's on the Mr. Beast philanthropy page. So this video is not, in a negative light. This is just my opinion on how I think that when you're with Mr. Beast, I wouldn't want him to be a president. I just think that he has so much to offer and so much to just achieve in terms of his career as a content creator. He's not even a content creator. I think right now he should have like 50% shares in YouTube because that guy, what he's doing right now, I don't think we'll ever see it ever again. So those are my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Jimmy would be a good president?